we talked about this match a lot this week. I think we talked about this match more than anything this week. And I'll be the first to admit that I haven't been on the Acclaim train this whole time they've been a team.
Mm-hmm.
But this week's social media battle, their skits. I know, you're right, bro. You are right. This week's social media battle and this week's back and forth with two of the best. I mean, MJF and Chris Jericho are the best on the mic, period.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no one that can really top them. But then you add the Acclaimed and the mockery that they've done to MJF and really like make fun of his past and things like that. And they made it personal, you know.
They did.
It was outstanding. And I think the Acclaimed won a lot of fans over. And I mean, it is, but it isn't that hard to get more people on your side when you're facing two of the top bad guys in the biz with MJF and Chris Jericho right now. So the Acclaimed have shifted me to be a fan this week dramatically based on the social stuff. This is a prime example of what's so great about this day and age of wrestling. You know, you get a lot of negativity and a lot of critics and a lot of, you know, things you can't miss, which is really a horrible part of it. But on the flip side, on the cold side of the pillow, you have the battles that you can continue these feuds and get really excited for and antsy for this match. Because if you didn't get this, if you didn't follow the social media all week, yes, it's going to be a great match. And then they do advertise some of the stuff on the road too and like that. But you're getting hourly and daily, you know, things back and forth. And it was outstanding, man. I mean, the build for this was great. The Acclaimed looked strong on this. You know, Jericho's jacket looked amazing as well. As always, he is the jacket god. He's the demo god. He's the ratings ruler. He's the less sex god. And I mean, he's it all. Jericho has it all. And my wife said, she was saying, Jericho looks great. He looks in shape. She's like, how old is he? And I was like, he's been getting fat shamed. And I'm like, that is how horrible social media is. And he looks better than
shredded tonight.
He's a 1%er in terms of the way his shape for his age. I think he's in less than 1% of the people that can be in that good of shape in his age. So props to Chris Jericho, man. This was Acclaim's entrance was outstanding. The rap was outstanding. Typically, I haven't been a fan of their rap entrance.
They're live. Let's be real. Like they're live, and this is fair for anybody, right? Their live raps have paled a little bit in comparison to these pre-recorded segments that we've gotten a chance to see, and that I think that's normal. I don't think that I'm not going to criticize them because we're on a much smaller scale, and we can even acknowledge it's so much harder when you're live. There's that extra pressure. You feel those butterflies, but I think that these guys feel so comfortable with MJF and Jericho, and a lot of it is because of that history that they have, that both Maxes have with each other. You know, I told you, like, I'm not going to preach to you like I was like on the Acclaimed bandwagon from day one either, but I've paid attention to their growth. A lot of it has been through social media and dark. Yeah. When you watch these guys, again, they burst onto the scene with not a lot of backstory, and so it was easy. It was easy to wonder where they were coming from, but as you've allowed these characters to breathe, and you get to see how their creativity, their sense of humor, just how on point they are with those verbal jabs. I mean, I got to give these guys a lot of credit. I think that the Acclaimed are quickly growing on a lot of people. And this was a great way to book this match because, you know, they were protected. The ending of this match clearly almost like, I mean, you mentioned it. They got over almost like baby faces in this match. We're typically seeing the Acclaimed as kind of those heels that talk a lot of trash. But anytime that you're against MJF, you're immediately thrust into a babyface role. We've talked about that countless times here at Dynamite Download. He's such a good heel. He's so despicable. They got over in a big way in this match. And I think that, you know, losing thanks to Hager getting involved and thanks to, you know, some unfortunate events with Bowens kind of going over for that big move at the end, out to the floor. it left a lot of people wanting to see these guys get another shot down the road. I think that the Acclaim lose very little, if they really lost nothing in this match. If anything, they gained that huge rub, right? Like through social media, through having an impressive match against a legend like Jericho. I think that this was a great overall showing. And I want to say, man, like, anytime you throw two singles wrestlers together in a tag team, you do wonder how they're going to do, right? I mean, as the tag team guy here, I was a little bummed when I saw Santana and Ortiz lose that battle of the Inner Circle to determine who would be the ultimate tag team of the group. But Jericho and MJF are flawless together. The work that they do to
They're pulling each other's hand.
Yes, I loved that work, and Jericho and MJF both stepping on the chest,
Oh, that was great.
Walking over top them. This is an example of, to me, just what we've talked about. Jericho is that godfather. He's clearly taken. I mean, MJF is such a perfect mini-me version of Jericho. We see the future is so bright for MJF, and there's a lot of that charisma and trash talk and just natural heel tendencies that oozes from his very being. There's no better pairing than being paired up with Jericho. I thought this match was phenomenal. Big fan of this match. I thought the psychology, the way it played out, benefited both teams. No doubt about it. This is an elite for me. And I think that the post-match stuff, from top to bottom, SPD, it's wild to talk about, but the pre-match, with all the stuff that built up to it throughout the week on social, the promos, where Sammy punched MJF in the ribs and caused a whole new element of this match to be played out, the match itself, and then the post-match. I mean, from top to bottom, this was a phenomenal segment. I really was a big fan of this. It was probably my favorite segment of the night.
I think this one has got the main event was outstanding, but this one has the most in terms of in-depth storytelling that we've seen in a while, with multiple segments. And then, JR said a great comment that he goes, one day we'll wake up and see everyone in the Inner Circle as a champion, everyone. And he was just, emphasizing how stacked this team is.
We've said it a long time.
Yeah. And I completely agree. The post-match stuff with Sammy, it finally played out. I didn't expect it to happen this soon.
Yeah.
But I'm happy for it. It's just keeping the pedal on the metal with the Inner Circle. They have a lot going on, and I think they're keeping it fresh. We do like a slow build, but this is going to be a pretty fast explosion. I mean, you have Sammy. Who knows? He said he needs some time. Does that mean he's going to take a few weeks off, or what is he going to do? Or are we going to see him faster than we expect? And then is he going to cost them the title shot at Revolution? Something like that. Maybe we don't see him till that. Who knows? But he said, I told him on December 9th, one more time, I'm done. And then he's done. And he finally stood up to Jericho, the Inner Circle, and walked out the babyface tunnel. And the rest is history. He's riding off to the sunset. It's going to be some exciting stuff. I
think that they gotta, from a timing perspective, I think that they do have to pull the trigger, right? I think that, like you said, this feud this whole thing with MJF and Sammy has been building, the dissension in the Inner Circle. I mean, you think about it, man, even dating back to the Vegas trip. I mean,
true.
there's Sammy's always kind of had his reservations about MJF. So I think that especially now that MJF and Jericho, like you just talked about it, now that they have this huge opportunity ahead of them, there would be no bigger way for Sammy to get his comeuppance against these two than to take a little bit of a break and show up in March. That's all. I think that this is going to be really fascinating, and I think this is just the beginning of so much amazing content that's going to happen between Sammy and the rest of the crew in the Inner Circle. I wonder, to me, even more than the potential outcomes of Sammy versus MJF, which we know is coming, I am so intrigued on where the rest of the players of this group, where they fall. And do they continue to stay loyal to the crew of the Inner Circle? And do they get involved with sort of that beatdowns of Sammy and fighting him? Or are they conflicted because Sammy's one of the originals? This is going to be a really fascinating drama. I mean, TNT is the home for drama.
That's right.
The Inner Circle has it all, baby. I'm a big proponent for what is going on with this crew, man.
Yeah, and it's exciting, but also kind of creatively frustrating in a way when you have someone like Wardlow, which we're so high on, and Sammy. I mean everyone, but specifically Wardlow.
Yeah,
who had an awesome match with Hager January 6th, and we're going into next week, February 17th, and we haven't even seen him on Dark yet, even or anything like that. So, is he hurt? What's the booking with that? I get I wouldn't call Wardlow green. He has some experience on the indies, but we want to see that,
Yeah.
and I don't know. I mean, we saw
it's interesting. I think that we could,
I think
that's something that we could talk a lot about, SPD, but we'll move to, I mean, personally, I think that there's Wardlow is one of those talents, and we've talked about it before. Wardlow, Miro, there's a lot of guys on this roster that, if AEW was strictly going for ratings, you just throw these dudes out there every week and just have them go at each other, bro. I mean, AEW is invested in the long term, and I think that with Wardlow, they're letting him continue to get seasoned. They're letting people like you and I chomp at the bit to want to see the big fella. And when it happens, and when he finally gets that push on his own, it's going to be special. So I think that they're playing the long-term story on this one.